Welcome to Framework. This is John, one of the hosts of Framework, and with me, as always, the other host of Framework, Al. How are you today, Al?
I am Albert, third of my name, the usurper to the Framework throne, here to talk about House of the Dragon Season 3.
Hot D, Season 3. The mid-season. We're halfway through here. I think we're going to come back and talk about where it all lands, but this is the first 4 episodes of this show of Season 3 here that we're discussing. I don't know. It's a rare show that we feel like we can do this multiple episodes per season here, but I don't know. Just kind of in the mood, I felt, and a lot of thoughts already.
Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts already because I'm confused by my own how I feel about this show. I know that all my feelings are really tied up in having read the source material and like the choices in adaptation, which is, a bugaboo of mine anyway. But those feelings confuse me because part of what I think is so great about the source material is it really leaves things wide open for adaptation in 100 different ways. And I find myself thinking there's no one right way to do this. And yet I'm still constantly going, "Ooh, but don't do that." Why
yeah. I have not read any of this book. I mean, I've read the original Song of Ice and Fire books a long time ago.
Sure.
I have not read any of the ephemera. Certainly haven't read Fire and Blood, I believe, is what this is directly adapting. I don't know what's going to happen beyond what Joffrey has spoiled for me in the original show. So I'm coming at this with fresh eyes, and I also am questioning decisions that were made, probably in adaptation. There are many things in this where I'm just like, that seems like there was a better way to deal with that thing specifically.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing. Okay, so had you read the Song of Ice and Fire books before the Game of Thrones show started?
Yes, I'd had.
Okay, I had not. I didn't start reading them until the show got to the point where it passed, the published books. Mm-hmm. I was in no danger of spoiling it. And so there, I had a very different experience of it. I can see sort of, you have to make decisions there, but it's more like, how do you get all of this onto the screen, or as much of this excess of material onto screen as we can in a coherent fashion? And what are the judicious cuts we can make without ruining a development 3 books down the line? And that's a very difficult, thorny task.
Well, the genius of the original series was that it achieved that task specifically. That it set up everything you needed. It handled this cast of 100 or so characters in a way that you understood them all. It was kind of remarkable as a piece of adaptation.
Yeah. And Fire and Blood is so different in its format that it reads like a great pitch document for a TV series that leaves a lot. It's like George R. R. Martin's like, I'm not even the showrunner here. I'm leaving a lot. Like the showrunner can decide a lot of things, including like who's a hero and who's a villain. But here is a plot outline and a cast of characters. And some of the plot outline stuff is so good and juicy, and some of those characters they don't jump off the page in the same way, because you don't get, in the original books, you get entire perspectives from Sansa's perspective, inside Tyrion's head, inside Dany's head, and you really know those characters inside and out. It's such an outside perspective from Fire and Blood that there's such free reign to do almost anything you want with it. But in a lot of the choices, the really big picture choices the show has made, I feel like it's left a lot of stuff on the table that I would have been a lot more interested in seeing fleshed out.
Yeah, I think that the one thing I can definitely confirm for me, the problem with this show is the characters. The plotting's very good. The stuff happening's a lot of fun. I don't think any of the characters really work. There's performances that work. There's aspects of things that I don't think any of these guys holds a candle to, say, the top 30 characters on Game of Thrones. What I wouldn't do for a Varys. If you had somebody, just a Varys in this fucking show, I'd be so happy.
A Jorah the Andal.
Oh, God.
To have by
what a gift. Yeah, something like that. A character that I was rooting for in any particular regard. And it's not that they're bad, all of them. Although the surprising number of these characters are not presented positively. It's almost all villains here, which shouldn't be a problem. But the ones that they present as good guys, I'm kind of frustrated and irritated with as well.
That's the strange thing, is that, and we won't be the first people to address this, and we probably talked about it in season 2, when it came out 8 or 9 years ago, that one of the weird structural choices here. Actually, okay, it started with a really good, I think, kernel of an idea, which is we are going to make this show primarily about Rhaenyra and Alicent.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense. They are the figureheads on either side that even in the source material are kind of presented as driving forces in this war. Maybe a little more Rhaenyra because she is actually the claimant of the throne and the, making the plans, and Alicent has to do it at a level of remove. But it does very much frame them as the two sort of people driving each faction. And making like the change to put them closer in age together and make them childhood friends. Good idea. That's some juicy stuff. And then making it like a big part, maybe like the main emotional conflict of the series being about their friendship and how it's torn apart by these events. That was really good as a spine for the first season. And then trying to maintain that into the second season became outright demented at a certain point, it felt like. The point after their children had started being viciously murdered due to this conflict.
Yeah.
And the show seemed to still be more concerned with
is
how that
Rhaenyra and Alicent
friendship.
going to be okay? Yeah. What's this going to mean for the two of them?
That should be a real quick question to answer, I would think.
Well, shit, man. I've pretty much been, Team Black through this show,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not anymore. I think I just don't like anyone. I don't like Rhaenyra at all. I think it's one of my least favorite characters on the show. I think it is a writing problem and a performance problem.
I think the performance is really strong, but I often given sort of pitched unhittable balls.
Maybe so. I mean,
yeah.
I cared so much more about this character when Millie Alcock was playing her, though. I have to admit. I found her really dynamic, really interesting. I was like, oh, here's a character to base a show around. And seeing, what's her name? Emma Darcy. I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about her necessarily. I think that unhittable balls is a good way of putting it. This character is just. I'm just so frustrated with her. I just so commit to something for God's sakes. Have the strength of your convictions. You don't seem to even want to be king. Or queen. You don't seem to have any particular interest in doing any of this shit. It all just seems like a massive frustration for her. And I don't care to be around her.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And that's, okay, this is one of the things that is frustrating about it. Because it kind of watching the show, especially I rewatched the first 2 seasons before the season started, and getting to the second one especially, it makes you kind of go, man, all the anti-woke whiners have something of a point going on here. Because a lot of these issues seem to stem from wanting to keep these 2 central female figures kind of above the fray, and
it does them such a disservice.
Not villains, and yet that does do them such a disservice. That is, it makes them sort of passive observers of their own story, which is always going to be worse than being an active, malicious driver of events. Even it's wild how much more sympathy House of the Dragon seems to have for Alicent than Game of Thrones had for Cersei. And yet, Cersei strikes me as a much better mother.
Oh, yeah.
Than Alicent. It's like when her children were murdered, she at least got mad about
it. I'm not entirely sure what Alicent wants at this point. How many kids do we have left to sacrifice anymore? As far as she knows, I guess they're all still kind of on the table,
2.
right?
2, but what? Yeah, but she was. I mean, they didn't do a good job articulating. I think one bad idea first of all to end last season with her offering to sacrifice 2 of her kids to save the other 2. But at least they should have articulated the calculus of that a bit better, because she offered up the 2 kids that had all the screen time to save one that had practically none and one that had literally none at that point. And now we're getting them in here in the 3rd season, but it's like, we are solidly in the back half of this series now. It's supposed to run 4 seasons. And like a lot of these supporting characters that could have been big deals, could have been like all of our Varys and our Jorah the Andals are kind of slowly trickling in now. But I'm like, there was so much missed opportunity here. That all goes back to saying sort of the original sin of the show is starting the first season 20 years too early.
I mean, maybe. I feel like there's a way that could have worked. I mean, well, first off, Olivia Cook, she's 32 years old right now. That is 6 years older than Millie Alcock. She is playing Alicent as a contemporary of, Rhaenyra, a woman with 4 children. I'm sorry, she is a teenager. She looks like a kid to me. I have a real hard time.
She's a grandmother of the show, yes.
It's that...
Which, okay, medieval...
Even still.
Wars or whatever, people are popping out kids at 15. I get it. But again, that it's not just that they had to recast Millie Alcock. It's that then they had to cast Olivia Cook to play Alicent at age 21 and at 29 and at 36 now, like, because they kept doing the time jumps throughout that 20-year period.
That is a thing,
There was a single time jump. And so I've been trying to, I've been thinking around that a lot, and especially because rewatching it now, I'm like, some of that early stuff that I think was probably a mistake to include in the show is stronger than a lot of the material when they finally got to what I would have called the good stuff.
Yeah.
That fell in season 2. But the other thing is, okay, maybe it is necessary to start this a little earlier than I was thinking, because the relationships between the families are so intertwined and complicated that maybe it would be really hard to, like, even though nothing, you could jump into the body of the series, like around, like right when Viserys is dying, he could croak at the end of the pilot episode, and we would get all the proper events, but the relationships would be so weird. It'd be so hard to explain who is married to who and how, like, Daemon has kids that are from both Daemon and Rhaenyra have kids from prior marriages.
There's a lot of that
related to these other families, and her relationship. They were both married into the Valerian family previously before they married each other, and what happened to her husband and what happened to his wife, and what that makes of their children that are step siblings and cousins, and
look.
Also engaged to each other.
All this stuff was handled so well in the original Game of Thrones. That was coming in blind, not knowing what the deal with Westeros is, or the house structure, or all these various different forms of status, or bloodlines, and all these things that you had to learn about. You had to learn about High Valyria and what the Targaryens' deal was. We come into House of Dragons with all of that preloaded. And it's still just sort of a mess. It's still a confusing wash of. I mean, I guess I understand basically,
but that's sort of that's like world building cultural stuff. The distinction I'm making is character relationships, because
it was doing that at the same time.
In Game of Thrones, but there wasn't a lot of recent history of things that happened like right before the series started. There was a chunk of history.
There was the usurper
during, like, the
usurper wars, where Robert Baratheon overthrew Aegon the Target, the tyrannical. I forget which Aegon he was. The Mad King,
the Mad King, of course.
But all of that.
That was a generation before those events, and then there was a generation of sort of peace and quiet, more or less, before things start going crazy again. And there's not a lot of intrigue that happens right before the show starts, except for maybe like the death of Jon Arryn, I guess, is kind of an inciting incident that we don't have insight into, at least not at first. But the way those kids grew up together does kind of come into effect a lot here in years. And again, the who's kid, when they have so much intertwining, it is confusing, and maybe that would be a harder knot to unravel than I was giving credit for.
Well, I think
it made me start to wonder, actually, if maybe would this have fared better if it just completely aped the Lost style.
Hmm.
And we first episode is sort of like them gathering in King's Landing right before Viserys dies. And we see like the pilots from Rhaenyra's standpoint. We're getting flashbacks to some of this earlier material. And then the second episode, we switch to Alicent's perspective, and then we can do a Daemon perspective and a Corlys one. And we can go back and learn about how Aemon lost his eye later on without actually having to go chronologically through it and bog down the entire first season with flashback material.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, they're so obviously trying to ape what worked about Game of Thrones here. The opening credits on, we're going to feel exactly like Game of Thrones as much as we can. It would be a pretty big break in the format of the show to do such. That said, I think the best episode of season 3 so far is the third one, which is a Rhaenyra episode. It's just all about Rhaenyra, who I said I don't even like. But just structurally, it was the best piece, I think, of the season thus far.
That is such a well-directed episode of television. That's what got me thinking about this. Like, well, maybe we should have kind of been locked into tighter into literal first-person perspectives than we were. If this is what they're good at.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I've kind of just lost track of all the different Rhaenas and Rhaegans and Daemons and Darians and Aemons, and there's just too goddamn many of these AEs, and it's hard to care about them, especially when they keep introducing new ones. Oh no, that wasn't even a real one. There's so much of that shit going on that when they just focus in on one person, even if I don't like Rhaenyra, it helps the show as a whole. Like, I think you could do this with a lot of these people that could support an episode about them. A Corlys episode would be great. An Aegon and what's this guy? The new Varys. What's it? The crippled guy was Larys. Yeah, they do an episode on them. That'd be great. I could go for all these things. It's feeling disparate. As split up as it is. I don't know. I feel like they might have done a bad Daemon episode in season 2, maybe in there. I don't know. It's not a guarantee.
There might have been 2 bad Daemon episodes by this point, but we could have got a really cool Rhaenys episode leading up to her dying at Rook's Rest.
Yeah, something.
And we would all be eager for when we finally get an Alice Rivers episode and kind of have a chance to figure out what's going on with her. I think it would feel smoother in a way to introduce Darren, 3 episodes into season 3, if we got to kind of lock it and go back and see what he's been up to for a while. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of having to remind myself.
There are ways that something like that
who here throughout. I don't know. I don't know if that's the big problem though. I feel like. Because the thing is, it's not pissing me off. It's not bad. It's frustrating me that it's not better, that it's not cohering. There's many qualities House of the Dragon has that make it kind of fun to watch. This is a great looking show, the production design here,
phenomenal.
Yeah, it's as good as it gets, frankly, on television. The dragon battles do not skimp. They are cool looking, Even that the best one of this season, I guess, was the gullet sequence. I thought that was really cool. I like that we kind of just moved the perspective over to it's between Corlys and his son. Which one was that? Alan? Is that Alan? I like Alan. The barbarian woman who's out to kill them. I thought that was really fun. That was a neat little sequence of events for the show to have. So it's delivering on that front at least. And, I guess you could make the argument that they need to do that in every episode, but they obviously can't. They are making that count.
See, no, it's not that it's not that they need to do it in every episode. And you're right that the Battle of the Gullet, I was very satisfied with how they finally presented that. That was one of the concentrating things about season 2 ending. I'm like, wait, you're not even going to do it.
Well, as a sideline, why the hell wasn't the beginning of this season the end of last season? I mean, it would have made so much more sense. I guess money probably is the only real explanation that makes sense. Because my God, what a perfect way to end a season that would have been.
Money and the writer's strike. I think nobody is willing to openly acknowledge that the writer's strike kind of tied our hands here, and fine. Also, if getting the writers a better deal, that the cost of that was we have to have an awkwardly structured season. I'd be willing to say fine. I can accept that. I would prefer they would just acknowledge that, yeah, it was a problem.
Yeah. Well,
but they want to pretend that, no, we could have that labor management dispute, and also it didn't affect the product in any way.
Would have greatly improved last season, that's for sure.
But the thing that, okay, and this is where I guess my concentration and yours are a little different, but it's interesting to me that we both, it seems like we kind of feel it, but mine is sharply delineated because I'm more aware of what I'm missing, or what could be going on elsewhere.
I'm aware of that too.
So like the gullet, like they spared no expense on that. They spared all the expense by skipping over the land battle that Damon and Tommy Flanagan and that they're singing the song about in the second episode, the fish feed. That's like the biggest land battle of this war in the source material.
Shit. Yeah, I was not aware of that. Okay.
I'm like,
seemed like a skirmish as presented here.
Right. So I'm like, you do the goal to show you can do it, and then you're like, but now I see like the sort of shell game of, oh, you do that so we don't have to do this. I'm like, but if you don't want to do the main events of this story, why did you make this show?
Well, I mean, the reason they made this show is they wanted to extend the brand of Game of Thrones, and they wanted to, continue to produce shows under this banner and deliver things that people wanted. And, quality concerns, whether it was feasible, to do all this stuff was probably a secondary consideration.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I wasn't meaning it in the sense that I misunderstood why the studio greenlit it, or like what their goal was for it. Like, I'm not opposed to them making money off of this product, but it's just like, if you're gonna sell hamburgers, like, you don't have to like experiment with like, but can we take the onions off the Big Mac and will people revolt? Like, but just, if you don't want to sell hamburgers, don't sell hamburgers. But if you do, make the best one you can. Like, what is that? So I don't know. This is a big expensive hamburger to make. That's
true.
It's a lobster thermidor, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, you could say not much room for experimentation because of that. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that buys you much. This is such a niche thing, it feels like. I'm surprised that something like this got the huge budget treatment. I guess it's hard to undervalue how huge that show was, Game of Thrones, and how committed they are to keeping this thing going. As a result, like this is not the only Game of Thrones show right now. There's probably going to be another one, right? I mean, I don't think that's official, but I don't see them slowing down here.
Well, they're going to keep doing Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and they're going to do another year of this, I gather.
I bet by 2030 there's a fourth Game of Thrones show on the air.
Oh, well, I mean, this one will be off by then, yeah. So I don't know that they'll have 3 on the air simultaneously.
Yeah, but I mean, something's coming.
Oh, I'm sure they're developing things, and they keep threatening to do a movie about Aegon's conquest. That is one section of this story. It's a big part of the mythology where I'm like, I just don't think you need to put that part on screen. It's not as interesting in a lot of the ways.
It's just one guy running the table, really. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not as interesting to me. There's more dragons, but also like we're getting plenty of dragons here.
We are. They look great. So to that point, though, what you were mentioning earlier, seeing the meat that's sort of left on the bone here, that things not articulated as fully as they could. Watching these scenes this season with Aegon, the disfigured vagabond king and Larys traveling around the countryside, I'm really struck that these could be great characters that I love. These could both be like really interesting characters with shades of gray, but nonetheless, I'm still sort of rooting for them in a way that was exciting and interesting. But they've kind of gone out of their way to announce them as villains with a capital V in previous seasons. So it all feels a little for naught at this point. Like that, we can't go further with these characters, really. I mean, maybe they'll surprise me, but it feels like there was so much potential here for these to be highlights of the show. I think the actors are good too, and it's just, they've damaged the characters too much at this point.
Yeah, those actors are really good. You're right. It's strange. Their sort of buddy comedy is built around two people who were built up to be completely irredeemable villains in the opening season.
Yeah.
And second, to a degree.
I mean, Egan is still pretty much a villain, full on. I'm like, he's just a stupid prick every scene he has. And it's just like, God, come on. If you learned some humility, maybe I could get on your side a little bit here. I would like to, in fact. Especially when contrasted with your brother.
And it's the Jaime Lannister arc.
Too. Well.
He's sort of cast down. He has to drug through the mud all the way through the countryside. And in the process, he learns a little bit of humility, and we start to like him. And it's fine to me if you don't want to repeat that exactly.
Then maybe they should have just repeated it exactly. I don't know.
Even 4 episodes into this series, I feel like I keep seeing the same scene of them over and over again, being threatened by ruffians that, in a sort of gruff English accent, demand them to do something humiliating. And Larys goes, yeah, no problem. And then Aegon goes, no, how dare you? And then he has to do it anyway. And I just feel like, why have we done this 4 times in 4 episodes? There's so much he could be doing.
Clearly. So, if he changed how he was behaving in those scenes, then that would be something. That would be a progression. Right.
I mean, that's like watching the second season too. That was all very frustrating. Feeling like, why am I watching the 4th scene of Corlys visiting Alan on the same docks and having the same awkward conversation about how, like, yeah, I'm your dad, but I never acknowledged you, or whatever. It's not like that's bad material. It's just like,
but good actors again.
We're doing this over repeatedly, and we could be doing so much other stuff. So the other thing, okay. This is, I understand you want no spoilers, so I'm not going to get into that. It's a little hard to talk about, but it is sort of fascinating. I think the other mistake, there's a structural mistake of spreading the first season over 25 years, create a lot of problems. The other big picture issue is just having this show's perspective so tightly on the top ranks of the Targaryen family and the Valerian family, which are married into each other anyway. But it's all about them. One, again, it gives us a lot of these people with the same names, the same bad wigs, and a lot of the same concerns, and we get a lot of the same scenes, it feels like, between those people in the same sets. And that's frustrating. It's even more frustrating going through the source material and being like, man, they're just dropping names left and right of people that sound like they could be great, good characters, even great ones, but just all kinds of people like, okay, these would be the other Ed, the other Night Watchman, or the Sam Tarleys, or I don't know, the Thoros of Mirrors, and all the supporting people that we're just not getting time with.
It's frustrating.
And it's interesting to me too. So there's like, I don't know, in these couple seasons, there are 4 or 5 people in that like tier that they have decided to make recurring roles and give us a little more time with, even though they're not focused. And it's kind of baffling to me how they chose who got that treatment. Like, so when I talk about that tier of person, I mean somebody like Simon Strong, the old man at Harrenhal, who got killed by Aemond, finally, or Jane Eyre, the Lady of the Vale. Right. I like that actress. She's very good in her scenes. That is a character that does like nothing in this story. Doesn't really like leave her space where there's not battles being fought. And it's like, in a version, if you had told me beforehand, like, okay, Lady Jane Eyre is going to show up in 4 or 5 episodes of this series and be kind of an interesting character, I'd be like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I would be baffled if you had told me that she was going to appear that much, while the guy that Tommy Flanagan plays now, Roderick Dustin, like that he has only showed up for 2 scenes this halfway through the 3rd season out of 4. It seems like that guy's got more to do.
I assume he does.
Ormond Hightower is now making a big appearance. Great. He's not a big part of the book, but fine, bring him up. But he's got another cousin that's kind of important to some things that happen later on we haven't even met yet.
Okay.
There's other people that are bannermen to him that are going to be important, that do important things. I'm like, I don't know, maybe you can rewrite that so other people do it or whatever. But I'm just like, why you would choose Lady Erin over, there's also Lady Joanna Lannister in the book, who her husband gets killed in that big battle right now. So now she's in charge of Casterly Rock, and she's in the name of her son, who's a baby. And she's got to and the Greyjoys have taken advantage of this to attack from the other side of the continent. And so she's having to defend Casterly Rock. That's a whole storyline they're just apparently not going to touch in this book or in this show. But I'm like, have the same actress play the other person on the other side of the country and do the more interesting story, touch on the more interesting storyline over there is what I'm baffled by these.
Well, Lady Jane Eyre touches a dragon plot line. Might be as simple as that. It's very dragon forward.
Does not in the book. They just kind of made that clear. But not a bad, I did love, actually, okay. So here's the thing. Rhaena, the girl who took Sheep Stealer, not a fan of that performance.
No, me neither.
And I really, in the second season, was really, sick of her instantly.
Yeah.
I really liked the turn at the beginning of this season that she tames her wild dragon. Or, well, no, she doesn't tame it. That's the whole point, I guess. But she claims it, and what should be her big, empowering glow-up just is immediately a disaster. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a really good turn. And now I'm more interested in that character than I've ever been.
Interesting. Okay, I'm still not interested in that character.
She's not the best.
I presume we'll see more of her. But I don't. I mean, that just a bit of a comedy of errors. Honestly, that's not in the book, huh? That the sheep stealer shows up and blows up the wrong boats and gets whichever Jaehaerys is that one of the princes dies. Yeah,
you nailed it, actually.
Oh, good. Okay.
I mean, he dies in that battle, sort of in the same manner.
Right.
But Sheep Stealer's not involved there.
Okay.
In the book, Sheep Stealer is just claimed by a girl that nobody's ever heard of, who's not related to any of the families.
Oh, interesting.
And that creates some conflict that I guess that maybe they'll kind of circle back around to in this altered way. But the idea that there's somebody who ostensibly doesn't have any dragon blood in them is able to do that.
I wish we were doing a little bit more with our dragon riders too. I gotta say, it seems like Sir Ulf the White there's endless potential there, and they kind of hit a wall early with him.
Well, those guys are still in the mix, and they're getting
sure.
I would say they are major characters on the show.
Okay, fair enough. Because I'm interested in them. I'm very curious about where those storylines go, and I hope that is an interest of the show as well. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not giving away spoilers or anything. I'm just saying the show has devoted screen time to them. So,
yes.
That's not part of this complaint. Where I'm just saying there are all kinds of people there are Greyjoys and there are Starks I think we should have had more time with. And I want a lot more time with Blackwoods, which have sort of appeared, but not really. And there could have been a whole cast of characters around Ormond and Darren. And that seemed like they were going to be relevant very soon. So I'm not sure what they're going to do about that.
Ormond was a character I was like, I found the actor kind of striking and interesting. And then quickly, just in this last episode, kind of was like, oh, I guess he's just a bad guy. I guess he's just a bad guy, and that's a little frustrating. But again, maybe he's a layered character that I'll come to have more appreciation of as it continues. It's hard to say what they're doing with him at this point. He seems like a seasoned boss,
Yeah, kind of. It gives off that vibe. I don't have a problem with him being a villain. In fact, some outright villainy might do this show well. Overall.
We've had outright villains.
Yeah. My complaint there is that in this last episode, I do not understand at all what his dastardly maneuvering was about. Hugh Hammer's brother-in-law comes and accuses one of Ormond's soldiers of trying to rape his wife. And so Ormond's solution to this is to
punish everyone,
brutally and publicly punish the soldier and then secretly kill the guy who accused him. And I guess that's the most evil way of going about it, but I don't understand isn't that the worst of both worlds for Ormond? Like,
I don't
doesn't that
see
piss
what
off the soldiers?
Gets him.
And like, it gets him absolutely nothing, I don't think.
He seems to be a bit of a zealot, so it could just be based on his
Sure,
beliefs,
right.
but those beliefs are kind of not very interesting or convincing. You know,
I don't mind him being a religious zealot or bigot, but if it's just about religious belief, like, wouldn't you do it all publicly? I mean, if he would seem crazy if he was like, yes, I'm going to castrate the soldier, but I'm also going to kill you for striking one of my soldiers. I just don't see what doing that secretly is supposed to gain him, because it's not like the man's family won't still blame them, like won't guess what happened or will be confused somehow. Like, word's still going to get out, but it's not going to be as effective at frightening the populace.
I mean, it would appear it's for the benefit of the audience to let us know that he is not a character we're meant to feel conflicted about in any way. Was my impression.
Yeah, there are plenty of ways to get there. Game of Thrones has
I agree.
never lacked for ways of getting us to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't know. I'd like to have some conflict with Ormond, but I also don't think he's long for this world anyway. Just my guess from the outside. So maybe that doesn't matter. Let's see. Where's my optimism about future developments here? Look, at this point, I'm definitely in for the long game here. I want to see where all this lands. I want to see who's left standing at the end, such as it is, and how we get there. I'm interested in all that. I mean, it does feel like everyone's doomed to some extent. I was very interested to see Dan Fogler pop up recently. Yep. That kind of the last actor I would have expected for this show, which has been so rigorous in casting, British actors. Like for over a decade of Game of Thrones, and see, like, the guy from Balls of Fury is here, and he's just one of the guys. That was a surprise.
But that's a perfect example to me too of like okay, I kind of like him in that role, and
I do too.
Fine. Torrin Manderley, that's a name that shows up in the book, and you want to fill that with a interesting actor and give him a couple of fun scenes. Great, but why they picked Torrin Manderley and not a list of 25 others that are like, why not this Bracken or that Mooten or this other Lannister? Like, I am baffled by those decisions, even though it's, like I said, it's such an open book that it's not like there's one path that they need to hew to. It's just like, that is such a strange, when you're only going to elevate 3 of these tertiary characters. That's such an odd pick for one of them.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I figured he had some plot significance going forward if they were casting a name actor. Although I don't know if he's a name beyond people like us. He's a good actor. But you know who I do really like that has just sort of organically kind of risen up? I think it's the Grand Maester of the Red Keep. Oswald, is that his name?
Orwyle.
Okay. I enjoy that performance because he's constantly just seems like, what the fuck, man? Every scene he's in, he's just like, am I going to get killed in this scene? My God. He's fun. I enjoy him.
But that's my theory from the start, is that this show should have been rooted in the perspectives of people near the royal family but outside of it, who are having that, what the fuck, are we really all going to die for this perspective? That, like, I guess they've given to Gwaine Hightower, but he's within one of those families. Mm-hmm. So another, like, nothing character in the book. Again, what they did with that nothing character, great. I enjoy that performance, and I like the perspective he brings. It's just like, there could be these whole other storylines that could be taking us to different parts of the map. And this is what also shits me a bit, is I imagine it's part of, okay, my really cynical view of the pitch has something to do with both. They were pitching it as, we are going to do a Game of Thrones show that is about the women of Game of Thrones, and we're going to do a feminist leaning Game of Thrones, and it's going to be empowering to women, and that'll make everybody who yells ass online happy. And one, I think it's kind of misguided to try and do a Game of Thrones product that's about empowerment. It's just kind of not the ethos of the series. It's about how even the rulers feel like they have no choices and are locked into this, Iron Maiden of a chair. But beyond that, I also think they kind of like nudged and said, and also the benefit of that is that we got to do a lot more scenes of just people in fancy dresses talking in rooms, and we don't have to go all the way around the continent doing all sorts of different sets and different and large battle scenes and stuff. And like, leaving so much on the table that way.
Weird choice of source material then, considering it is the Dragon War that they're adapting. The Rhaenyra Alicent center of this is kind of forever mushy because it wants to preserve those characters as rooting interests, which seems like it feels like if they allowed those characters to have sharper edges, they'd be succeeding more on that front.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I totally agree. And I honestly, so having them have scenes together now, I'm like, I do see the sort of dramatic potential here and what would be good about this. I think it's the second season that ruined it because
the second season was really bad in retrospect. I think that they made many wrong choices, just fundamentally with many of the characters throughout.
Particularly with those two, in trying to keep their hands a little bit cleaner and having all of the, every atrocity committed in their name is done above their head and around their backs and so forth. One, it just it renders a relationship not believable to begin with and makes them look kind of silly and stupid. But if they had allowed Rhaenyra and Alicent to be kind of the driving forces of the war to a greater degree and really be sort of trying to go at each other's throats, even from afar, during the second season, we could be backing into this dynamic now, I think, where Alicent is a prisoner, but Rhaenyra finds herself so sort of isolated and paranoid that she finds herself like going back and sort of visiting with her more often than she expected to and finding odd notes of sympathy with like that they actually can relate to each other's positions a little bit more. But that's all like really weird and messy because they have killed each other's children and they know that it will never be friends.
Yeah. And
that is a sort of classic Game of Thrones conflict where weirdly Jaime Lannister and Catelyn Stark develop an odd, very grudging respect for each other. And you could have got to that point where there is this connection that is very grudging now that they're still find they can communicate in ways that surprise themselves. And to get there in a believable and more organic way, you would have had to live in the space where they were actually really trying to tear each other's throats out for a full season there.
It would have been fun to watch it anyway.
And they didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do, especially in today's world where living in that space for a full season means like 3 years of real time.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, presumably we're about 12 episodes from the end of this show at this point. One assumes that season 4 is 8 episodes long. Maybe it's 14 episodes. I don't know. But we're winding down here. The majority of it is behind at this point. It seems like there's
still a lot to do. You know, the climax doesn't come halfway through exactly.
Sure, but my impression is that there's a significant amount to do. Like that we kind of got to step on the gas in a way to kind of get through it all at this point. That there's a lot that's going to happen in those 12 episodes. Like it's kind of go time here. And it's going to be accelerating its pace. And I mean, I don't know. The pacing of this season has been fine. It's kind of weird that it's half over, frankly. It's moved so quick. But It does seem like there's a lot to do before this closes down. And do you think this is salvageable on the whole? Like, I think it's always going to be good to look at. It's always going to have things that are nice. It's always going to have good scenes interspersed and good performances, etc. The lore. Will this end strong? Are its best days ahead of it, do you think?
Yeah, in as much as I think this season so far has actually probably been its best days in some ways. And I don't know if it's hard for me to answer because I do actually like watching this show.
Yeah.
While it's on. And then it's sort of once it's over that all this other, like, that I can't turn off the parts of my brain. They're like, but why are we... Why Torrin Manderly? their people. Is it just because Dan Vogler is cheaper than, I guess? I mean, he's cheaper than an entire epic battle scene, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to completely divorce this from the idea that there is a much better version of this adaptation that I think was on the table, and I don't think they can get to that by the end now.
Yeah.
But I think it could end with its strongest section and, ultimately still be a good show, kind of, more or less, with some just like really, it's never going to be in the absolute top tier, I guess.
Right.
Because it's always going to have at least one season that is weak enough to take it out of the very top tier of prestige TV. And even particularly 4 seasons, I guess, is not enough to recover from one bad season. Maybe there's some other shows that kind of had a bad one and recovered in a way, but
this is such a fundamentally like this is all structured, and this is not structured season by season in any way. This is like one very long season is what it feels like so far.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's of the type. It's not X-Files or Buffy the Vampire Slayer or whatever, where you can have a season-long arc that is weak, and then the next season gets a clean slate. That this goes so directly, it's A to B to C to D. There's no clean slates between seasons is the problem.
I also have to say, for me, Night of the Seven Kingdoms has kind of taken the shine off of this a bit. I really enjoyed that, and that feels like the way to move forward with this franchise for me. Like the limited scope maybe helps, but just having a perspective. I mean, there are characters on that show that I like more than people I've seen in over the entire run of House of the Dragon. I responded more positively to I don't know, Rose the Red Prostitute, or Red, what was her name? Like minor characters there kind of popped in a way that like you said, they're not really doing on this show. Being on such a smaller scale probably makes that easier to do, but that focus on fundamentals, I think, has served Night of the Seven Kingdoms really well. And I'm more excited about the next season of that, I would say, than the rest of this.
Certainly, I would say Night of the Seven Kingdoms makes the small scope an asset in a way that's not possible for House of the Dragon. In fact, my problem with House of the Dragon, my biggest problem overall, that what I'm talking about, is that this is a story with his scope is enormous.
Yeah.
And I feel like it has the show has settled on this very narrow focus while still wanting to pretend that it has its scope is boundless. And because of that, it's cutting a lot of the most interesting parts of this conflict out of the frame in a way that, again, my negative read on it is that it's all just its cheapness. And in the worst version, it's trying to use, feminist virtue signaling as a cover for cheapness. And that's probably, that's an ungracious perspective to have on it, because I don't know any of the people involved in this or anything. But I wish it wasn't something I had to think about it ever.
I mean, I wonder if they just we can't present Rhaenyra as villainous in any way, and if we just kind of needed something, we needed some edges there. We needed some stuff that was, she's not likable as it is because she has so little agency or control over this. She just seems to be like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I generally like dramatic irony very much, but when we see the thing that's supposed to happen, but because of something else that, The Wire that we've been watching is full of this, that is confounded or frustrated by the larger powers. This happens 5 times a week on House of the Dragon, and it's getting kind of like a crutch.
There's a fine line between dramatic irony and farce.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And
when everything happens by accident, it's not tragic anymore. But yeah, I mean, I think what we're interesting too largely is, honestly, this is some of the stuff that will probably date the show most of the era, whatever you want to call it, the coming out of on the tail end of the woke era or whatever. But it's what I view as mistaking virtuous for sympathetic. And the idea that we will not stick with this character emotionally if they sully their morals in any way. And like,
it's fucking Game of
does
Thrones.
everything about Game of Thrones, the product, actively refutes that proposition. I do. I mean, maybe it's just that. Yeah, that's true as long as the hero is a middle-aged white guy, and then we and the broader audience have boundless sympathy for them, but we'll turn on women at the drop of a hat. There's some evidence to that to support that perspective.
Look at Daenerys, though. I mean, look like they didn't worry about making Daenerys nasty, and people still loved her. And then ultimately it became a problem that people loved her so much for the story they wanted to tell.
Well, I think they did they kept Dany sympathetic and generally
she murders
well-meaning and virtuous.
Thousands of people over the course of that series. Thousands of people die at her hand. And,
yeah, they're coded as, this is the section of the map where they're slavers, so we don't have to worry about
if Rhaenyra cruelly murdered some evil people, I would be fine with that. I might like her more for a bit. The closest I've come to enjoying Rhaenyra and liking her was forcing the rich people to eat bad food a couple episodes ago. So, yeah, I want to see the teeth.
Well, they even pulled that punch.
They did. They did.
Sit there and make them eat it. She leaves the room and it's like, they're just going to take the plates away now. She made her point.
I've made my point. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, no, you say dig in before you leave that room and make it clear like the door's shut behind her. They're not letting them out until they eat the rat. Like
people like when people are exerting their power on this show. That is something that is fun to watch and see. Even if it's virtuously being cruel after a fashion, you want to see that on Game of Thrones, kind of.
What's the game they played with Daenerys up until the final season, really?
Yes,
and that was it's all kind of to hide the ball, I suppose.
No, there was to a purpose in that show that people did not appreciate, but even still. I think that it's true of basically every character. Like it was thrilling to see Sansa become a bit nasty as the show went on. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought so, but I mean, I guess I don't speak for the entire world.
Sure. Okay.
But I speak for myself.
Arya, then. Arya. Everyone agreed on Arya. How about that?
Well, I was a sicko who came into the 7th season being like, what, my favorite character on the show is Cersei. So.
Right. Yeah. Well.
But they really, I mean, one, they didn't ever break their back trying to make me sympathize with her. And they put her through hell in the 5th and 6th seasons. And I came around to be like, yeah, you know what? Good for you. I like that terrorist attack. That was, you got to recognize game where you see it.
Yeah.
But they don't that's the problem. They don't let Rhaenyra and Alicent have any game.
No,
in this.
They have no game.
Because the game is dirty and gross.
Yeah.
And they're better than that.
Yeah.
That's a bad perspective. Look, the show's not over.
Sure.
Without giving away too much, like there are still turns to be taken with these characters. So we're not necessarily going to end where we are now.
Yeah. I'd like to see some teeth.
And we'll come back at the end of the season. I'm curious to see just where they end the season structurally now.
Yeah, it could be anywhere, I suppose.
I've kind of lost track. I don't know. Like, there's something that strikes me as, that would be a clear, good season finale. I'm not sure if it leaves enough of a 4th season left though, to carry the whole thing. So
I feel one major death. I think we got one major death going to be happening at the end of the season. Just as a TV watcher without a knowledge of what happens, I feel like one of the 5 most important characters on the show has got to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we put the over under at 1.5 then.
One of the names here. I mean,
who are the 5? So it's Rhaenyra and Alicent, Daemon.
Yes. I guess it becomes tougher after the top 3 there. So Corlys probably.
Corlys would be 4, I suppose.
Yeah,
and then I guess is 5 Aemond or is it Cole?
Well, I guess I don't know in the structure of the whole thing. I mean, Cole's barely been in this season. I mean, he could go and it wouldn't matter at all. I don't like Cole.
Well, he was such a more central character than Aemond in the prior seasons.
Right.
Aemond's more important to like the structure of the war, like
Aemond would count for me. Aemond would count as a major death. Yes. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, of those, I don't know. My gut instinct to tell you what I think Daemon. I think Daemon goes this season.
Okay. Well,
without knowing.
I'm not gonna type.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Seems like he's the character that kind of has not too much left to do, I guess. And would be a crippling blow for the Blacks, who will need one at the end of the show. Or the season. That's my guess.
Okay. Well, we'll come back in a couple of weeks and see if the Blacks have suffered any blows.
All right. Very good. Thank you for listening. And we'll be back for that in 4 weeks' time.